Live Labs, my first ever live stream on YouTube. So looks like we are live now. And we'll just send a message out to the peeps on Discord. All right. Let's take a look at the feed. And looks like it is working. We should have audio. We should have video. Should all be good. This is the first time streaming. Excellent. All right. And we'll officially kick this off in just a minute. And how's it going, my friend? I am brand new to this streaming thing on YouTube. I've never done this. And so just getting the systems ready now. So good to have you. Anybody who's connecting. First one ever. Okay, good. Thank you. Awesome. So can hear and see fine. Fantastic. And sending out the Discord message. All right. Very good. All right, and I just need to check a couple things. All right. Looks good. Looks like everything is flowing properly. Good, good. All right, a little intro music. And we'll officially begin here. All right. All right, so I'm Dave Prouse from Prouse Tech and doing my first live stream here at YouTube. So excited for this. So welcome. And going to probably be working through some technical difficulties and just getting used to this feel for this YouTube live streaming. So, okay. So right now I just have an image of the new system, the new workstation that I built to do things just like this live streaming. So I'm definitely excited about this new system. I'll show it in a little bit and we'll show what I'm running on it. Obviously running Linux, like the name entails, Dave's Live Linux Labs. And so we're going to show all that. And I just wrote up a quick agenda here, Live Linux Labs and more. So going to do a little introduction and I'll talk about why I'm going to be doing live streaming. We'll talk about the new Linux workstation and we're going to configure nonstop in Linux in real time. I'm going to make a ton of mistakes because that's one of the things that I do, but hopefully we'll get a lot of things right also. Also going to be updating a laptop that I have that's running Debian SID. I normally update that on Mondays, so today's the day. If we have time, we'll install KVM on my main system here for virtualization. And so I need a virtualization platform, and KVM's the one that I use. So this system, I just built it, and really doesn't have any of the stuff that I need yet. So I'm going to be doing a whole ton of configurations on it. I'll also be taking questions from you, and really I should be adding that in here. We'll just add that in. Q&A, right? Do this in real time here. Q&A, and we'll do Q&A, take questions. If you have any questions about specific things in Linux, I'll answer if I can. And like it says here, I'll show as much as I can in 90 minutes. We're going to do 90 minutes altogether. So here till 12:30 Eastern time. And so that's about it. All right, fantastic. So feel free to chat it up in the chat box, in the group chat, and let me know if you're feeling good out there. Like I say, this is first time doing this, so we'll just take it step by step here. All right. So again, oops, sorry. So introduction. First of all, I'm Dave Prouse. I run Prouse Tech, which is basically my website, prouse.tech, and also a YouTube page, and also Discord server. And I deal with things Linux and a lot of other technology, networking, security, and that type of thing. So I do a lot of tech work in the field, and I have some customers. I'm an independent contractor, and I work with a lot of Linux, a lot of programs that are associated with Linux, and like I said, some networking and security. And I'm kind of that go-to guy to fix problems. If something goes wrong, I'm the guy that gets the call to fix problems. I actually just got a call about 5 minutes ago, but it's going to have to wait because we had this Linux live stream scheduled to go. It's not urgent, which is good. If it was, we'd probably be closing the stream right now. But a little bit about me. Again, I'm Dave. I have done a lot of tech work in the field over the past X amount of years. I've worked as a network admin. I've worked as a systems administrator, network engineer, worked in DevOps roles. Previous to all those, I worked as a PC tech, laptop tech, handheld devices, and so on and so on. So I've been working in the field a long time, and I've been doing training as well during that time, usually training in the evening, that sort of thing. And so been working in the field for a long while. Yeah, fantastic. So East Coast, we just got a bunch of rain. We got the storm here, so a lot of rain coming, but the internet is working, so we're looking good. All right. So anyways, why am I live streaming? That's the next thing here. Why am I live streaming? And the main answer here is because I normally get a lot of requests to show things in real time on my systems. And, I'll get these requests by email or in the Discord server or when we're doing live webinars on O'Reilly. So I get a lot of requests to show things. And so people may come in to see it live, or they may watch it afterwards. It'll be recorded for posterity, and you can follow along in my journey in the lab that I'm building here. So I like to share my experience and what I know. And, no strings attached with this. There's no cost involved. I don't do any ads in these YouTube videos and live streams. And if you saw an ad, let me know, because there wasn't supposed to be any. So that's the main reason why I'm live streaming here, to really just to share my experience and build it over time. And so that's the main reason. And if it works out, maybe we'll do it every Monday. Every Monday might work out pretty well. We'll kind of work with the times and, get it a little bit more organized and official. But this is the first one. And so we'll just show a lot of Linux and see where it goes from there. Okay, so the new Linux workstation. All right, so the problem was my old system was 10 years old. 10 years old, and it was starting to show the signs, and it really just couldn't do everything I wanted to do, especially with recording video. I use OBS for recording video on my main system, and it just was getting more and more choppy. Video card couldn't handle it, and I really needed a better solution. So I decided to build a new workstation that's designed for video purposes and to work with OBS. But of course, I wanted it to be Linux. I did not want Windows. I did not want Mac OS. I wanted Linux because I love working with Linux, and I wanted it to function the way I need it to function. And so through a combination of hardware and software, I think I have accomplished this. Now, keep in mind, I just built this system. It's brand new, and just installed the operating system and OBS. And I documented that entire process, and we'll be coming out with a video for that in a week or two. It's long, and it's very in-depth, and it requires a lot of editing. So a week or two to get that video done. But I documented the whole process, all the hardware build, the software build, you name it. So, but I needed this new Linux workstation, especially for video recording and the old system was just getting old. I still have the old system that's on the side now, and it will act as a backup and also do a lot of other work for me server-wise. So the new Linux workstation, so this is it right here, and you can see it. System's right over here. And so this is an Intel-based system, NVIDIA video card. And one of the things that I put in this system are video capture cards. And I got these from Blackmagic. So Blackmagic DeckLink video capture cards. And so what you're seeing right now on the screen, you're seeing a screen share, and you're seeing this image here, and I can change between whatever windows I want. That's all being done via hardware. Previously in OBS, I would do that as screen sharing software, and it would be done within OBS and within the operating system. And it would be painful, and we would get encoding issues and so on and so forth. A much better way to do this is hardware based. So that's what I'm actually doing here. I'm feeding out from the video card right into a capture card. And it's actually this that you're seeing on the screen. And then there's a second capture card, which is being fed to from my camera here. So 2 capture cards and 2 feeds, and OBS is picking it all up perfectly. I document that whole process of how I did this with OBS and with Linux in that video. So hopefully get that released soon. So let's take a look at the system. And we'll go to a terminal here. Move myself over. And so let's run a couple commands here to see what we have running. First, I'll run a cat and do /etc/os-release. And you can see that I am running Ubuntu. Now, if anybody's here who has been to any of my webinars or seen my work on my website, you might say, wow, that's kind of surprising. Why did you pick Ubuntu, Dave? And I was kind of surprised with it myself. Originally, I was looking at Debian and Debian SID. I was looking at Arch. I was looking at Fedora. I was looking at Linux Mint and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, well, I run Ubuntu at home for a music system. Maybe this will work well for what I want to do at work on my main workstation. And I did some testing on that system, and it turns out that it functions very well. Now, any Linux can be great, whether it's Arch, Fedora, Debian, Ubuntu, Linux Mint, whatever. But what I found was the Ubuntu 24.04 LTS release seems to work the best for me with the hardware I need to run and the software I need to run as well. So that is the reason for Ubuntu. Now, a lot of people, kind of consider Ubuntu to be the distro for noobs, and that's fine. I don't mind. When you get down to it, Linux is Linux. Also, Canonical, who owns Ubuntu, has made some questionable decisions in the past, but that is water under the bridge and things I'm willing to look past, because just about every Linux organization does stuff like that. And you never know, it might change in the future. Might change over to Debian SID, might change over to Arch, who knows. Any of it could work well, though. The key is that I wanted to run Linux here. So this is Ubuntu 24.04.3. They just dropped 0.4, but I have not updated to that yet. And if we bring up the updates page here, you can see that I just have this set to security updates only right now and checking every 2 days. And that's generally what I'll do on my Linux systems. And how's it going, Mike? Good to have you here. Generally, that's what I'm going to do on my systems for work, especially because I'll be working on a project, and it could be some kind of code that I'm developing for a customer. It could be a video project that I'm doing for my publisher. I don't want updates to mess with the system until I'm done with that particular project or a couple different projects I'm working on. So generally, I'll leave it as security updates only. And then I'll do, when a project is finished, I'll do a big update on the system, either here or here, and do something like this. Generally, I'll do an APT update first and check all the updates that are coming in and make sure they are exactly what I want, but not until the project is done. Right? Awesome. So another command, we'll run a uname-a, and this will show a variety of information to us, including the kernel version that we're using here. So this is Linux kernel 6.14.0-33, and that's what Ubuntu is using. Now, in the past, Ubuntu kind of was a little older with their kernels. Not as old as, say, Debian, but nowadays they're using a bit more cutting edge kernels, but they're using good ones from the linuxkernel.org, the whole Linux association. They're using good ones that have long-term support, but more cutting edge nowadays. Not as cutting edge as, say, Fedora or Arch rolling release, but pretty cutting edge and good enough for me, basically. With this version of Ubuntu, I was able to install OBS version 32.0 that's as an APT install. That's the package manager there, right? So OBS 32, and it works really, really well. And that is what I am streaming through right now. That's my streaming software, which leads to YouTube and finally leads to you. Awesome. So another command. Take a look at this system a little bit further. Just clear this. Let's run an IPA. So I use the IPA command to view information about my system and see what type of networking connections we have. Here we have the wired connection, ENP4S0. And you can see the IP address for that. I set that statically. And then here we have the wireless connection, WLO1. And we see that's connected to a different network, Soho network. And that's getting its IP address dynamically from the DHCP server at that Soho router. So 2 different network connections. Previously on my old system, I had like 6 network connections. Don't really need that anymore. And I still have that old system, so I can always show that or do testing with it. But now it's just the wired connection and wireless connections. Okay, good. So that's one way to look at the networking here. Another way would be to do an IP-BR-CA, and this will show the connections, their names. It'll show the status, whether it's up or not, and the IP addresses. And effectively, that's what I really want to see on my systems. I want to see that information and that information only. Okay. Another command that I'll run to show networking quite often is nmcli. If you have a network manager-based system, you can run the nmcli command, and that will show you the information. A lot of the same stuff, the wired connection and IP, the wireless connection, and the IP address for that. And so we do a lot with the nmcli command, and I especially use that on servers that have Network Manager installed. All right, good. So that's a little bit of commands and a little bit about this system. If you want to see more about this system, we could do that pretty easily. I installed a program called NeoFetch, and you can grab this program with the sudo apt install NeoFetch. And once you do, you can run the program and see a little bit about your system. So you can see what version of Ubuntu we're running here, the kernel that we have, how many packages are installed, the shell that I'm using. Now, I've installed the fish shell. Right now, I'm working in Bash because I switched over to it just to start. But I just installed the fish shell, and I want to configure that today. We also see the desktop that we're using. Now, GNOME is my favorite as far as desktop goes. KDE is also awesome, and I use that on one of my laptops. On a testing laptop, another one, I use a tiling window manager. So no real desktop whatsoever. Um, and so for my main system, though, I really like how GNOME works. And we see the main terminal that we're using, GNOME terminal. And here we see the processor that I put in. So the CPU is a Intel i7 13700K and seen very well by Ubuntu. The video card is a GeForce RTX 3060. This can handle most games at 1440p, 60 frames per second. It can handle, say, Llama 3 AI tools, 8B, and it does pretty well with those. All right, so a little bit of information with NeoFetch. All right, so you can modify NeoFetch also, and you can make changes to it if you wanted to. If you want to make changes, the actual file for the configuration of NeoFetch is at .config. Inside your home directory, it's .config/neofetch. And inside there, you'll see config.conf. And so we could make changes to that by using a text editor. I prefer to use Vim as my text editor, but you could also use Nano. On a desktop system like this, you could use gedit or a variety of other tools. But I like to use Vim, and I'm just used to it. So we'll press enter for that. Now, my Vim install, I copied over my .vimrc file from my old system, but there's a couple things that I have to install to make it actually work properly. Vim will work, but I need to get Vim Polyglot installed, and also I like using the Dracula theme. But that's okay. We can just press enter to continue and take a look at the NeoFetch configuration file. So what this basically is a bunch of info statements, and each of these in purple or magenta, if you will, these are all what's listed when you run the NeoFetch command. But you can add more. For example, any of these. Quite often I like to show the local IP. And so we could modify that, go into insert mode, and just get rid of the comment. Uncomment that. And no, I'm not going to show the public IP, but you could add a lot of information here, right? So we'll do that. We'll save it. And then if we run NeoFetch again, we will now see the local IP, 10.42.0.240. So that's a quick way to add items in there into NeoFetch. Now, this is a good program, but there's newer ones that are better maintained. There's several examples. For example, Fast Fetch, also Screen Fetch and CPU Fetch and others. I like Fast Fetch, and I don't think that's installed by default on Ubuntu, and the answer is no, it is not. So let's go ahead and install it. We'll do a sudo apt install fastfetch. And I'll try to type in my password properly. Okay, and unable to get fastfetch. And I probably need a PPA for that or something similar. So we'll take a look. And by the way, tomorrow and the next day, we're running the Linux Networking and Security Fundamentals live stream. And that is being done on O'Reilly through my publisher. I'll post a link to that in the chat. There we go. So that link there is the Linux Networking and Security Fundamentals. All right. And if you're interested, check it out. That starts at 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. And we're going to do all kinds of Linux networking and security on the second day. But let's take a look here. And we'll just do a quick search. Now, I'm still in the Google search. We're going to change that around to DuckDuckGo and that kind of thing. And yeah, so we need a repository, it looks like. So we can grab that. And I had a feeling needed to get a repository here. And we'll add that repository in. I'm just pasting that in. Okay, good. And we'll do an apt update those repositories, and then we can run that fast fetch install once again. So sudo apt install fast fetch. There we go. Okay, so there was my first mistake. Well, I've made many mistakes already, but yeah, need that repository quite often first if it's not a program that's built into the package repositories for Ubuntu. Now, keep in mind, these are third-party programs, open source, written by other individuals, so use them with discretion. I always recommend testing a program that you haven't used before on either a virtual machine or maybe a test laptop or something like that. But I like the Fast Fetch program, and so we'll install that and we'll run it. Let's do a fast fetch. Make that a little bit smaller. Here we go. So it looks very similar to NeoFetch, but they actually add a lot more current type of information, today's type of information that you might want to see. So we can get more information about our system in a nice, clear view here. We see a lot of the same stuff like the kernel we have and the packages installed and what the shell is right now, at least. But also it'll show all 4 displays. So I've got 4 displays on my system here, and you can see them here. This one is the one that I'm screen sharing, this one in the middle. And then we have 2 Dells, which I've had for like, I don't know, 20 years or something, 15 years. And then we have another monitor up here and running all the stuff that I have to run on these. You'll notice, though, that this one says BMD. I don't know if you can see that. Make it a little bit bigger. It says BMD. BMD means Blackmagic Design. So that's the capture card that I installed on this system. It's not going to actually show the monitor. The monitor is a Scepter monitor that I got real cheap. But BMD is Blackmagic Design. That's the video capture card. So effectively what I'm doing here is on the back of this system, and I'll show this on my phone if it works properly in a little bit, but on the back of this system, I have those video capture cards I mentioned before. So I could do hardware capturing instead of screen capturing in OBS. And there is a splitter that comes off of this, and it goes to an HDMI splitter here. So I split it off, and one end connects to the monitor, the other connects into the video capture card. That's basically how it works. And so we're not going to see the type of monitor. Instead, we're going to see the capture card there. All right, lots of other information, fonts we're using, the GNOME terminal, the version of GNOME. Now they just released GNOME 49, and so this is, yeah, a little bit behind, but I absolutely love this desktop. I love other Linux desktops too. It's not like it's not like I dislike any of them, but I really like working in GNOME. I like how it's designed, but we're definitely not cutting edge with what we're running here. The thing is, I don't really use the desktop for much. I'm doing a lot of work in the terminal. I'm using specific applications. I just want to make sure that those work and they work well. So the desktop doesn't matter too much. However, I really like GNOME. When you press the super user key, it shows all the windows that are open, and you can also do your search. Now, you can't see my search because it's on a different monitor, but it'll show you the dash. It'll show you the search option. And really, that super user key is super powerful. But also with GNOME, it's extensible, and you can add extensions to the desktop to do additional things. So for example, one of the extensions that I use is called Draw on GNOME. Actually, we call it Draw on GNOME. And I'll show an example of it here, get myself out of the way, and let's bring it up. Okay, we're entering drawing mode. And so I can now actually draw directly on my screen. This is extensible for the GNOME desktop. And we could do a lot more with this. And this is really an invaluable tool that I use to work with, especially when I'm doing training, or if I'm doing live conferencing with people and trying to show things, and I really just want to, or maybe I just want to brainstorm. It's a very powerful tool. So we can go to a Blackboard mode. We can add a grid. With this tool, we can create different shapes. We could do arrows. We could do different colors, you name it. And so this is a very powerful, powerful tool. And in fact, I'm actually the maintainer for this currently. And if you're interested in this, I took over as maintainer this not too long ago. But here is Draw on GNOME. I'll paste that link into the group chat. And so this will work on a variety of different GNOME packages. Right now, it's not functional on 49, so we're working on that, working on a fix for that. But this is just one of many extensions that are available in the GNOME desktop. And we can bring that drawing back and get rid of it and save these drawings. So very powerful, but just one example of the extensibility of GNOME. So cool stuff, very cool. But again, lots of information here. We see, again, the Intel, we see the NVIDIA card, we see the memory that we have, and you can see I put 64 gigs of DDR5 RAM in this system. We see the disk. Now, it'll show you the main partitions. Now, the way I did this is I broke down the drive, the main drive that I installed, as two different partitions. So we've got the root, you know, just slash, and that's where I installed the operating system and some basic applications. And then we also have /home, and that's where the user accounts go. So I actually separated /home, that directory, as a completely separate partition. This way, if I need to reinstall Ubuntu, it'll get reinstalled over here, and the home directory and partition will remain untouched. Maybe I want to install a different Linux operating system down the line. This way we have that home directory with all the user information in a separate partition. Good, good, good. And lots of other information here, the locale, English US, and the IP address, my local IP, 10.42.0.240. My main lab is generally, for the most part, on 10.42. That's the network that I have all my systems connected on. All right. And great, Mike. Good to have you from Madagascar, and everybody else around the world, by the way. Great to have you. And again, if you came in later, this is my first ever YouTube live stream. Amazing. I've never done this. I do all kinds of live streams with O'Reilly and Pearson Education, but I've never done this on YouTube just on my own with Proust Tech. And so this is the first one. And the whole point of these live streams is to show you things, and for me to share what I know and share my experience and show what I'm doing in my lab, and hopefully do this on a weekly basis and just show all the upgrades and configurations and problems that I have to troubleshoot and that kind of thing. So that's the whole idea here, is to share what I know. All right. All right, so fast fetch, very good. We can also add items to fast fetch, kind of similar to what we did with NeoFetch. And we would do that again, whatever editor you want to use. I'm using Vim, but we would go to .config, and then inside that, fast fetch. And oops, that's nothing, what I just did there. The file name is config.jsonc. And I don't see it. Okay, so now I just installed it, but let's change over to it. Let's take a look here. Oh, okay. Not in .config. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Normally, this is where I would go to check this out. But yeah, no configuration for that, no directory. Let's run a fast fetch --list -modules. Well, it shows the list here. And you can see it's a pretty long list, and you can modify this. You can add any of these items if you wanted to, like power adapter or processes, public IP if you really wanted to have that, and so on and so on. But normally you'd add that to the config.jsonc. I don't see it just yet. And I don't actually see fast fetch as a directory here. So that's interesting. And I'll have to troubleshoot that. I don't want to spend too much time on that right now, but I'll make a note of it and see if we can get a fix for that and put it in the notes in the video once I do. All right, good. But anyway, pretty cool program. If you want to check it out, shows you tons of information about your system in one fell swoop, basically. All right, another program I use quite often in Linux is Top. Now, Top is built into Linux, and so if we run that, we will see basic information about our CPUs and our RAM, and then all of the processes that are running here, which we'll refer to as commands. And so this is a very powerful program to use when analyzing a system or troubleshooting the system. This is the Top program. And by default, I have it running with all the CPUs open. I'm probably going to change that actually because there's so many CPUs on here. But I modified the configuration for how Top runs, and that's done with the Top RC program, and actually our Top RC configuration file, and I grabbed that from my old system, but I'll probably modify this a little bit more. And I made some changes here so it shows things a little bit more human readable as far as how much memory is being used. So for example, right now, if you look at my system, you can see Pipewire Pulse was using 27.8 megabytes. This renderer was using 504 megabytes. Firefox was using 151. Blackmagic is listed. OpenRazor, which is for the keyboard and mouse that I have here, and so on and so on. So Top program, very powerful. And when you run it, it runs in real time, and it'll keep updating every 3 seconds by default. We can change that. We can press D to change the delay time, and I could change it to say 0.5 seconds. Press enter, and that'll update a lot quicker and show you all kinds of stuff here. You can see that towards the top is OBS. So OBS is what I'm using to stream out through to YouTube so you can all see it. That is really only using about 20% of my CPU altogether. Not bad, because, and if we if we look at all the CPUs, you can see that that also gets broken down and spread out, distributed amongst multiple CPU cores. And so this is very good, especially compared to my old system. So my old system was, is getting definitely a lot slower, or maybe it just seems slower as OBS becomes more powerful and operating systems become more powerful. The older hardware you have tends to not run as well, even if you're running Linux. And so if I was doing this with OBS on that system, it would probably say 200 or 300% of the CPU would be used currently. So this is much less. However, this is only one piece of the puzzle. This is just the CPU. So I'm going to press Q to quit out of that. The other piece is the GPU, the graphics card. And so one of the programs I like to run is NVTop, if you have an NVIDIA card, which will show you information about your video card. Now, if you don't have this program, you can install it with an apt install NVTop. Okay. Because this is not within the repositories, right? Not within the repositories. But I have already installed it. And if we run it, you can see now NVTop is here. And we see our GeForce RTX 3060. Now you might say, well, Dave, how come you didn't install a 5060 on this card? And the answer is this. I was on a budget. I'm always on a budget. So, and plus, to save money and still build a decent system, I always like to go down at least one generation, at least one. And so I did that with the CPU and also with the GPU. So instead of 5060, I've got a 3060. It's got 12 gigs of DDR5 RAM and a GDDR5 RAM, and it runs very well. So if you look here, you can see, okay, temperature is 43 degrees Celsius. That's like nothing. I mean, I would only get worried if I start hitting 70 degrees, maybe a little higher, and consistently. So we're running OBS here. We're streaming at 1080p, 60 frames per second into YouTube. I'm running all kinds of other stuff on this system, and it's just hovering at 45 degrees. It's only using 48 watts out of a maximum of 170. And the graphics percentage on the GPU is hovering between like 5 and 15%. That's it. So we have a lot of overhead here. We can do a lot more with this system. Now, if I start doing some graphic type things, those numbers will pop up a little bit. And actually, it's this one here is the OBS. We've got two OBS threads, this and this. Okay. And they're very low basically, but we're interested in the total altogether. And I'm just checking right now. We are still streaming, so to me the GPU is doing very well. And Polkit, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, Terraform. We have a Terraform course next week. 4-hour live webinar. How to use Terraform in 4 hours. So we will be doing that next week. So check it out. And the signups for that are on Proust.tech. Awesome. Fantastic. So how's everybody feeling out there? Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know if you're feeling good. Give me some thumbs ups or emojis in the chat box. It always makes me a little bit happier. Again, this is the first time I'm doing this. And like I say, I've never actually done this stuff here. Add a little smiley on here. Okay, so fun stuff. We got the group chat. Let me know if you're feeling good out there. All right. So what did we do so far? We did NeoFetch, we did Fast Fetch, we did Top, we did NVTop. And hello, Julian. Good to have you here. What else? Oh, okay. Well, other programs I might use, and I'm going to press Q to get out of this, by the way. Quite often I like to use BTop, right? That's not going to be installed by default in Ubuntu. I would have to grab that as well. So we'll do that. Okay, good. And we'll run btop now, and you can see it. So this is kind of the same type of thing. Top is really cool. I also like htop, and btop really works well for me. Now, quite often I'll run this with a much smaller font, you know, like this on my screen. I'm just making it bigger so you can see it better on my screen here. But it'll show the CPUs, it'll show the amounts that are being used, temperatures. Here's all the processes and the memory. Very human readable. Memory here, disks, and download. We got speeds here for networking. So this is a kind of an all-in-one type program, like Top on steroids almost, and a little bit more human readable. Right, so that's another good program. And like I say, I also like htop, and you can just press Q to quit out of any of these. Okay. Udemy. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Is it Udemy or is it Udemy? I don't even know, but I am not on Udemy. I'm just going to say that. You would think that would be my, because it's an MY. I have no idea, but I am not actually on there right now. And that the main reason for that is because I train exclusively with my publisher. My publisher is Pearson Education, and we do live webinars on the O'Reilly platform, and all of my videos are available on the O'Reilly platform as well. So all my Pearson Education stuff is there. So I am pretty much exclusive to them. I don't do any training on Udemy or Udemy or whatever the heck it is. There's so many platforms too. There's Pluralsight, there's Lynda, there's LinkedIn, there's Udemy, Udemy. Okay, sounds good. Udemy. I think I was doing it right. But yeah, so tons of platforms out there. I don't put my stuff on everything. I train exclusively in one place. And one of the reasons I do that is because I believe in the O'Reilly platform, and I believe in what they do. Otherwise, stuff I'm doing here on my personal channel, Proust Tech, that's not connected to O'Reilly or Pearson in any way. And I just do this stuff for free. I don't, charge anything. I try not to do any ads. You should not have seen any ads, by the way, when you connected. We're hoping that you did not. If you did, let me know in the group chat. But yeah, just I like to do this stuff for free and just kind of share, and I'll once in a while some shameless plugs about the webinars that I'm running and the new video courses and that kind of thing. But the whole main idea here is to really just share what I'm doing and in real time show what I'm doing in my labs. All right. Now, so far, I've only shown what I've done previously with this new system, because this is a whole brand new system. And so this thing was pretty nuts. It took 3 days to get this whole thing set up hardware wise and working. And that's after building the actual PC. So because there's video, there's lighting, there's audio, the PC itself, all the connections. And so definitely a lot of stuff there. All right. So let's do something else here. Let's kind of change gears a little bit. Actually, first of all, let's do Q&A. See if anybody has any questions. Okay, and Armando, you're asking about the SL command. So if I have some time, I'll get to that. That's SL, correct? That's what you're asking. Is that like a funny command? I don't remember. Is it like kind of just like a fun command to run? Kind of like apt moo. Have you mooed today? Just fun stuff. Is it just a fun command? I don't remember. But I'll try to get to it if I can. If anybody else had any other questions, let me know. All right, so what was next on the list here? Oh, I want to connect to my Debian SID system, right? So I was saying I want to update my Debian SID laptop. So, okay, my main system that I was using previous to this one was Debian Sid. Now, Debian Sid's really cool because it it's really cutting edge, right? If you want something super cutting edge, normally when you think Debian, you think, oh, that's like old Papa Debian, old school Debian. But that's regular Debian, and that's incredibly stable. I have Debian servers that have been running for 4 years without the need for a restart with a couple customers. But Debian on the client side, the desktop's going to be older. The app packages are going to be older. So they have testing versions of Debian, and one of those is Debian Sid. So that's all the new stuff that's coming down the pike, and you'll have much newer kernel, you'll have much newer drivers, you'll have much newer apps and access to all that stuff that the standard Debian won't see for maybe a year or a year and a half later. Who knows? So if you want to run something like that, you can. However, Debian Sid does give you the latest stuff, which can easily break your system. And so what I found is on my main workstation, Debian Sid, I would just turn off all the updates until I was done with a project. And then I would update everything, and it would generally something would break. Something software-wise, maybe even something hardware-wise. It happens. And it could be because it was my fault. Generally, it's because of me. I caused the issue. But or something just conflicts, or there's some dependency, or something goes wrong. So you got to be really careful with Debian Sid and Arch rolling release and things like that, because they can make changes to your system that could cause conflicts or issues. But I do still run Debian Sid on my old workstation. I'm going to continue to run that. I also run it on a laptop for testing, and this is where I normally look to Debian to see what the latest updates are and what's coming down the pike. So I'll know for the servers that I support, and even for the client side as well. So what I want to do is I want to connect to that. What I'm using to connect to all my systems in my lab is No Machine. There's a lot of different programs you can use for this, but I'm using No Machine, and I just installed this. It works great on Linux, and it allows me to connect to Linux systems, Windows systems, Mac OS, you name it. So I have something called Smoggy, and that is my Linux laptop running SID. So we're going to double click on that to bring that up. And we will connect. I don't even remember what I think I'm just dpro on there. And we will connect with our username and password. I don't think I've connected yet. No, I have not. Have not connected from my main system to any of these other systems. I just installed No Machine. So I got to do a little configuration here. We'll say don't show this, don't show this, don't show this. Scale the remote desktop to fit into the window. Yes, that's what we want. Click OK. Don't resize the remote display. Good. I don't want that. That can really mess with the remote system. And I don't know how well you could see that. The font was pretty small. But anyways, now we're connected. So this window is my laptop. Now, of course, you have to have No Machine installed on the other system, the remote system, and it has to be broadcasting out, and it does so on port 4000. I don't use this on the internet. I only use it locally in my local area network to connect to physical systems and also virtual machines. Now, once we're in here, we could do a Control-Alt-F. Control-Alt-F will go full screen. See if everything's still working here. Looks like it is. All right, the steam locomotive. So it is a fun thing. I totally forgot about that. Does that work automatically on any system? Oh no, you got to install it or whatever, right? I don't remember. Been a long time. Anyways, we're connected now, but a couple things I want to do here, because it's the first time connecting. I want to go to my properties here. Go to my settings and go to input, and I want to grab the keyboard input. That's really important when working with No Machine, because I'm always doing all kinds of keyboard shortcuts on systems, like opening terminals, changing the size of windows, whatever, all kinds of shortcuts. But in order for those to work within a No Machine session, you have to grab the keyboard input. So I will do that. I'm also going to change my preference here. Use hotkey for menu access. I'm going to change that to Control-Alt-N, because Control-Alt-0, the default I use for OBS to change scenes. So we'll change that, and we'll go back here. Let's go back to display here, change settings. And I want to make this best quality because I want to rock and roll here. We'll modify, request a specific frame rate. Oh yes, 60 frames per second. Now we're cooking with gas, right? As the kids say. All right, there we go. And we'll go back and back. Now we're good. Now I can press Control-Alt-F for No Machine to bring that window down and show all the other windows running on my system, this just being one of them. And then Control-Alt-F to bring it back up. At this point, the keyboard input should be capturing. And so if we press Control-Alt-T, oh, see, that's not nice. No Machine added Control-Alt-T for disconnecting. We have to disable that on this system. I don't know what that setting is or where it is, but I should be able to get keyboard access here. Now, normally I use Control-Alt-T to bring up the terminal. I'll just type it into the search though. There we go. And so now keyboard input is working. I'm restoring the window down, I'm maximizing it, restoring it, going to the left, going to the right, maximizing. So there we go. That all works. Very good. So now I have a No Machine connection to another Linux system. And so if we do cat/etc/os-release, we will see this is Debian GNU Linux Forky SID. So SID means that's the testing. That's the latest stuff with Debian. Be very careful using this. And what they're up to testing right now is version 14 Forky. It's not out yet. Not too long ago, they released Trixie version 13. And so that's what you would get. And that's the thing. So Debian is considered kind of old man Debian, but they just released Debian Trixie version 13, which is actually a lot newer. A lot of new stuff on that, and a newer Linux kernel. And that's very cool. However, they don't put out new releases of Debian that often. It's, going to be a year and a half, 2 years, whatever, before Forky actually comes out. At that point, Trixie will look kind of old, right? But Debian in general is getting more with the times and catching up faster than they used to, even just 5 years ago, catching up faster than that. So this is SID, and this is all the Forky stuff for version 14, all the stuff they're working on. And what I want to do is a sudo apt update to check what is available here and see what kind of updates we have in here. And give that a moment. So as you can see, I haven't upgraded this in a while, and that's because I've been working on, my new workstation here. But 590 packages can be upgraded. Let's just run a quick upgradable command to see what those are, okay? And some of the stuff that I'm more interested in here is stuff that I work with. So, for example, I'm interested in what the new Firefox updates are. I might look more into that. Also, GNOME. Now, it's not downloading a new GNOME shell, but there is a lot of GNOME updates, that's for sure. So something to look at. Other things that I'm interested in are things like KVM, which I use for virtualization. Programs like Terraform, which was mentioned before. Terraform, and also Prometheus, which I work with a bunch. Tons of libraries. Let's just page down. Oh, here we go. This was something I wanted to see. Where did it go? Here we go. So lots of libvirt updates. So this is important to me. This is a lot of libvirt updates. libvirt 0, libvirt clients, libvirt common, and blah, blah, blah. So libvirt is basically the underlying services for KVM. And, you know, it's important to me to know what's coming down the pike. First of all, I want to see if there's going to be any problems that I'm going to have in the future. But second of all, I want to see what new functionality the program has, right? So this is something that I would definitely check. SSH. There's always security updates and important things that come into play with SSH, which I use heavily in the field. So that's important. Pipewire changes are important for me because I do a lot of audio stuff and video stuff. And so Pipewire becomes important. And then we have QEMU, which is the other portion of KVM. QEMU system x86 is the main portion of that. So I would probably want to look into this and see what exactly is being updated here. And it goes on and on and on. There's updates to Vim and VLC and blah, blah, blah. So lots of stuff there. Now, this is my laptop and it's for testing purposes. So I don't really care for the specific laptop, but this is why I do it here. This is like a 12-year-old laptop. It's a Toshiba quad core with 16 gigs of RAM, and it's at least I think that's what it is. The 8 gigs of RAM? It's only 8, and it's a quad core i5. What is 11 years old? Something like that. It's running GNOME 48.5. That's the latest version of GNOME that Debian Sid is working with right now. But this, again, it's a test laptop. This thing is amazing. I think I dropped this off the side of a building and it still functions and it still runs Debian Sid. So don't ask me why I did that. Okay, and Polkit, awesome. So RHCSA, so you're super Linux guy, right? You're super Red Hat, you're certified, awesome. But yeah, cool stuff to do here. This is like my journey through the lab, right? And a lot of people connecting, they're going to have a lot of knowledge and a lot of knowledge that I don't. And that's something I'm willing to admit is that Linux is massive. Linux is a massive ecosystem. And people tell me, how do you become the master of Linux? You can be the master or an expert of a section of Linux or maybe multiple sections of Linux, but all of Linux? Not going to happen. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. There's no one person that can know it all because it's expanding at such a rate that you would spend all your time trying to learn it all. All right. So this is my little corner of the Linux world. And that's the cool thing too, is Linux is totally open source and anybody can use it. So my little corner here. But anyways, I want to do the update. So let's do a sudo apt upgrade. And that'll calculate it. Okay. Needs 315 meg. That's cool. We still have 17 gig available on this system. And we'll say yes. And I want to see if there's any information files that pop up. Because if there's important change logs, they will pop up when you start the apt upgrade on this Debian Linux SID system. And I'm just going to pause here to get a little drink of water. Be back in a moment. All right. That's taken a while. Let's jump back over to my main system here. How do you install that? Is it sudo apt install just SL? I guess. Yay! I totally forgot about this. My boy is a big fan of the Thomas engines, and so I can't believe I've never shown this to him. And what's the other one? SL-A? And hopefully nothing really crazy is going to happen here. Okay. Help. Help, help. Awesome. That's the steam train, right? Okay, cool. More fun stuff. All right. So back to the Debian SID system, and we do have some change logs. All right. First of all, and by the way, thank you so much to all of the contributors in Debian. You make the world go round. Debian is such a massive thing that so much is built off of. It's hard to comprehend how much is built off of Debian. And all of the committers for Debian are just really awesome. And here's a name I see quite often. And so thank you, Chris. We've got utilities for Linux, updates for that. Okay, and let's arrow down. I don't know if you can hear those noises, but here, open SSH. Like I was saying, there's usually going to be some type of change log for this. And check it out. We're up to 10.1, P1. Number of changes. Now, like I say, part of the reason of doing these live streams is to do this stuff in real time. And I have to read this, and this is what I do. This is one of the things that I do in my lab. So if you like this kind of stuff, stay on board. But let's take a look here. Okay, so SSH, add a warning when the connection negotiates a non-post quantum key agreement algorithm. Okay, interesting. All right, also handling of DSCP. In both the client and server, the default DSCP values were revised and how the runtime has changed. Interactive traffic. Okay, I've already read about this. Okay, we're deprecating support for IPv4 type of service, TOS. Not a problem, don't use it. SSH add when adding certificates to an agent, which, by the way, if you don't use certificates, it's something you may want to look into as opposed to just passwords or keys. Set the expiry to the certificate expiry time plus a short 5-minute grace period. Good. They were talking about this. This will cause the agent to automatically remove certificates shortly after they expire. That's kind of the whole point here. That's what we want. All right, good, excellent. Remove experimental support for XMSS keys. This was never enabled. And we're going to do post-quantum signature scheme in the near future. Wow. And so that's something that I need to get more into. It's on the list. Move agent listener sockets from /temp to, okay, they were talking about doing this before. Good. Okay, NFS information. All right, cool. So that's a lot of stuff. Urgency is just medium. It's not critical. It's not super important, but important enough. And thank you to Colin Watson for those updates and for working on the SSH program. We also have VLC switching changes on Lua. Not really a big deal. I do use VLC, and that was VLC is the video player, and I use that instead of the stock video player in GNOME. I think there's a couple things in GNOME that I personally don't like very much. The stock video player is one, but the newer versions of GNOME have a different video player. So depends on which version of GNOME you're running. But I run MPV at home as a video player, and on this system I installed VLC, but not really too much of a big update. Okay, so those are the change logs. We'll press Q to quit and get that update going. All right, so it's a big update. There's a lot of stuff here, and we'll just leave that running. Fantastic. All right. Anybody have any questions so far for me? Specific questions, things that are bothering you in the Linux world. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep moving and keep setting stuff up here. And so, fun stuff. I need an icon. I need an icon for my user account. And if you take a look here, I'm in the settings in GNOME. If we go to displays, you'll see I have 4 displays set up here. And you just drag and drop them to where you want. And these are the 4 that I'm using. This 5th monitor is just for external connections that I'm monitoring for if I'm doing any type of work on laptops or other video devices. But these are the 4. And so that corresponds with this. And again, you see down here it says Black Magic Design, not anything like an actual monitor. That's the capture card. Right. If we go to sound, you'll see the sound devices that we have here. We've got built-in audio in the motherboard. This is an MSI motherboard. For those of you that saw my write-up at Prouse.tech, and by the way, if you haven't checked out my website, check it out. This is the link for it, Prouse.tech. I did a computer build. This is my home computer build that I did around December of last year, January. And so this system is very similar to what I built here at work. And the motherboard and all the other stuff that I use is listed here. Now I'm going to put out a post and a video about the new system I just did here at work. But it's very similar to this. Now, this is a very long post that describes a lot of what I did in text format. But the motherboard is a MAG B760 Tomahawk with Wi-Fi. And it comes with built-in audio. And it's pretty good. It's pretty clean, actually. It's fairly clean, cleaner than some sound cards that I listen to. So pretty stoked about that. And I just have some M audio speakers connected to that for external audio. But I also have this device here. This is a Rodecaster Pro, and that's what I connect all of my mics to. And in a minute, I'll connect with my phone to be able to show all this stuff, and you can see it. You live at my website. That's awesome. It's a very static website, so I don't really notice that you're there. But yeah, feel free. Mi casa es su casa, right? Or something like that. Anyways, that Rodecaster is here. So we've got the line out from the motherboard, and then we have the Rodecaster as well. That's what I'm outputting on right now. If I was to change that, you wouldn't be able to hear me anymore. So we're not going to change that. But I'm pretty into the Rodecaster devices. I've been using them for a while. We're at 67% on the Linux Debian SID upgrade. All right. And, oh, there was one other tool that I'll use sometimes, and it's called System Monitor. Here, let's bring that up. This is a GUI version. So if you like GUI tools, this is called System Monitor. It's built into the GNOME interface. It'll show you all the processes and the memory used. And I like top and BTOP better. I just like working in the terminal. But processes are there. Resources is also cool. This is more the tab I would use more often, or the page where it shows CPU, memory, network, and disk. Again, this is system properties, or excuse me, system monitor. You actually type system monitor to run it. And then we have file systems as well. You can see the different partitions that you have there. So I've got my different partitions. But again, normally I'm going to be working in the terminal. You know what I mean? If I want to see the partitions, I could use the df command. We could also use something called DUF, and that actually does not come with Ubuntu by default. You'd have to do a sudo apt install DUF. and then it'll show you the information in table format. I've found that there's some inconsistencies with the used and available numbers, but it's pretty close. You can see that to install Ubuntu, you have to create an EFI partition, and normally that'll be 1 gig. And I also created the root partition / which I made 400 gig. I've only used 24 gigs so far. And then the home partition is separate. That has all the user accounts, especially my main user account, dpro. That's the most important here. And I've only used 6.3 gig of 1.4 terabytes, but that's because I just got this thing up and running. That's going to change real fast. For example, I did something similar on my home system, and used is already up to about 700 gig or 800 gig. And, you know, things like games and AI tools and audio recording, that'll do it. So I'm going to have to start offloading stuff. Currently, this system only has 1 drive. It's an M.2 drive, which I broke into these different partitions, and it's working great, so I don't really see the need for anything else. The only other thing I might add to this system is an SSD drive that's 2 terabytes, so I can clone the entire OS and have a backup in case the NVMe drive fails. That's the only thing I could see actually changing over with. All right, fantastic. So that's another tool there that I might use to check the drives. And, you know, you've got fdisk, you've got lsblk, you've got df, you've got duf. Quite often I'll do a df-T to show stuff in a little bit more depth and see what's going on my root and also in the home directory. Only 1% usage on the home directory. Only 8% on the root, so that is cool. Doing well so far. All right, good. So what was I saying? I wanted to do something fun. What was I talking about here? Oh yeah, something fun. So I want to get an icon for my user account because when I log in, it just shows nothing. So let's go down to System here, and we'll go to Users. And here's my user, and I want to add some type of image. We can add one right from here. I'm a big fan of bass guitars and cappuccinos. Let's go with the cappuccino. Or we could add an image from the internet if we wanted to. But just like to have something, just have a little bit of fun with it, right? And if we need to make other changes, we could unlock this. And type the password correctly. And then we could make the changes we need to, like password, automatic login, add additional users, and so forth and so on. Now, remember, this is the GNOME desktop. But now, every time I log in, I should see my nice cappuccino. Or maybe I'll change the image later. Who knows? Awesome. So that was really fun. That was good stuff. And let's keep going down the line here. Now let's go ahead and actually show the system and see if I could do this in real time off of my phone. Because this is another thing I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to show things from the phone, kind of hands-free, and just use that as a camera within OBS. And I believe it is functional. Let's go to it now. This is Droid Cam. You should be able to see this now. So this is my system. Let's see if it's working. About a 4 or 5 second delay in this YouTube feed. Keep in mind, like I say, there it is. I see it now. So keep in mind, like I say, this is the first time I've done a YouTube live stream. And so just working out the kinks with this. But here we go. Here is the setup. Super cool. All right. So the device I was talking about for the audio is this. This is the Rodecaster. And I had an old one. I had the version 1, and it started to give me some issues after about 4 years. So got this newer version, and it is fantastic. That is what the audio is going through right now. I connect all of my stuff into this, and this feeds in via USB-C to the computer, and Ubuntu sees it like a champ. You know, like we said, if we go to the settings here, did I close settings out? Yeah, if we go to settings here, and I'll just go back to that screen and go to sound, it totally sees it. It sees Rodecaster Pro 2. And reason for that is it's a class compliant device. So you don't need any drivers for it. Its firmware will be able to talk to Linux. Linux has been programmed properly to be able to see class compliant devices like these, or CCDs. And it's pretty fantastic. And thanks, Pretty Fly, for let me know that you could see this. Let's go back to it. Let's go back to the Droid Cam and take a look here. You can see I'm running OBS on the top monitor, and that's streaming out through YouTube, which is on the bottom right monitor, so I can see the group chat and everything. Hello, everybody. Okay, and got all our stuff here. Let's see if I can reach around to the system itself. I'm actually wired on my headset, so we'll see how far we can go here. But this is the system. And so this is rack mounted. So belt to rack mount, and got some cantilever shelves for the PC itself. UPS is on the bottom. Generally, like what I like to do with these is I'll connect all my monitors to one UPS and audio devices. Sometimes audio devices on a separate one. Depends if there's any type of loopback feedback or anything like that. And then another UPS for the PC, and maybe like one other connection. So PC will go onto this, and if we take a look, we can see that the load on this right now is 180 watts, thereabouts. That's pretty good. For running OBS and everything else that I'm running here, this is pretty good for doing a live stream. I'm happy with this. The power supply on this system is 850 watts, and I don't see ever really getting to that max. The other thing connected to that UPS on the bottom is a PDU. So we've got a PDU here, and the reason I'm using this is to be able to plug in extra stuff that won't fit on the back of the UPS. Let's see if I can reach here. So if we look at the back of the UPSs, we'll see that well, we're getting a little bit of static there, but we see there's a lot of plugs, and they don't give you that much room to work with any types of wall warts or anything like that. So it could be problematic. So anything that I need to plug in that's additional, like these big plugs for lights or charging the phone, or here's the HDMI splitter, that kind of stuff can go into a PDU, and a PDU connects to the UPS. And that's safe to do as long as you don't overload this. And all this stuff is pretty low voltage, or low current stuff. HDMI splitter, phone charger, and LED lights. So really not too bad. And if we look on the back here, you can see the video card is here. We've got 4 outputs, and the one output for HDMI actually goes up to the HDMI splitter, and that splits out to 2 places. One to one of the monitors, and the other to the video capture card, which is this. This is one of the Blackmagic capture cards. Then we have a second capture card, and that's coming with the feed from camera over here. A little bit of cable management to do here, but it is working pretty well. Let's take a look. Okay, yep, still broadcasting on OBS and in YouTube, and looking good. Okay, so managed some of the cables, but still working on it. And that's pretty much the setup. Had to go with the LED lights also. I don't know, just a little bit of fun there. And I'm very fortunate to have been able to build this system. Um, I didn't go with the latest stuff, but definitely fortunate to be able to build that. All right, fantastic. So there's a little bit of the system. And those black magic cards have worked very well. Let's see if we can show this in OBS. Now this is going to go to infinity here, but you can see I'm using black magic here. If I wanted to connect to something, I'd hit the plus sign, go to black magic device, and then I have both of my black magic devices here. So that is the way we're doing it now. Instead of doing screen share with something like screen capture with Pipewire or the old Xorg screen capture, what is it, HXFM or something like that? Oh, this one, display capture, XSHM. Don't have to use those and don't have to work within the OS or within OBS because we have these physical black magic devices. That's the main difference with this system. And it seems to be working flawlessly. Like I'm doing everything and OBS is not failing. Any one of these things I'd be doing on my older system, OBS would fail. So this is actually really exciting that it's coming together and that these black magic devices are working. Now, effectively, to get those black magic devices working, have to install them physically, plug them in correctly. Then you have to install the Blackmagic software. And then there's an MOK. You have to enroll a key, reboot, go through the enrollment process for the key, type in your password, and then it should function properly. There's some updates you have to do and some other stuff. I document all that in the video. So we'll be showing all that once I get that video released. Cool beans. All right. Yeah, no problem, Julian. And so just giving a feel for this. And like I say, this is kind of like a historical account almost. People can come back and watch this, and then they can watch the upcoming sessions. Hoping to do this maybe every week. I'll probably do more like an hour each next, the subsequent weeks. An hour and a half might be a little bit long, but we'll probably do an hour, and I'll just keep an ongoing list of stuff that I want to work on my lab. Now, some of those things I got to get done immediately. Like one of them is KVM. And so I'm going to jump down to that because I need to get KVM running on this system because I need to run virtual machines for my Linux networking and security fundamentals webinar, which is tomorrow. That link is in the group chat in the history somewhere. But I definitely need to get that up and running. So let's do that. Let's get to a terminal. And by the way, so far I've been working in Bash, but I've already installed Fish as my shell. I like Fish. Fish is good. Fish is fun. And that's my favorite. But there's, the Bash shell is also awesome. And Bash is what I normally use on servers and just leave it as the default. I like Fish for my workstations and my laptops, but you might also be interested in ZSH, Z shell. That is awesome. Comes on Apple devices. Another great shell. I just prefer Fish. But I had switched over to Bash. I'm going to exit out of that and get back into Fish. So this is the Fish shell. And one of the reasons I like the Fish shell is things are color coded. Also, it has a great history, and it'll pop up the history of your commands very easily. ZSH does a lot of these things as well. So I'm going to start using the Fish shell. I just installed it before we started this live stream. And Pretty Fly, you can put your suggestions right in the chat if you want, or you can contact me at my Discord server or by email at prowse.tech. So that's up to you. As long as it's, like a nice suggestion, feel free to put it in the chat. If it's a suggestion like, shut the heck up, then, well, I can't do that. I just can't stop talking. It could be the coffee. I'm not sure. But anyways, I need to install KVM, and we're about at the hour-and-a-half mark. So let's do it. Let's get that installed. We're going to do a sudo apt install, and I want KVM. So that's actually a combination of packages. And if you're interested, I actually have a KVM. I have a KVM video and article on my website. Pretty lengthy article and a pretty big video. It's got a lot of likes on YouTube. I'll paste that into the chat. Okay, cool. Yeah, hit the Discord, and you can send me a private message if you want, or you can post somewhere if you want it to be public. That's up to you. So check out KVM if you want. That's a KVM installation on Debian. Really goes into the depths of it, right? But what I want to do is I want to get that installed. So this will be the last thing for this live stream. We'll get KVM installed, and then we'll call it a day because I have a lot of work to do for webinars tomorrow and also for customers. So I got to get to it. Luckily, it's raining out, and I really feel no need to be outside. All right, good. So you know what, before we do any installations, I always want to check things. Now, the first thing you have to do is check your BIOS. You want to make sure that your BIOS or your UEFI has virtualization enabled. Most motherboards today will come with it enabled, but you should check it. And then you can check if it's enabled in your system as well in the command line. So let's do that. Let's do an lscpu pipe, and we'll do grep on virtualization, and that's with a capital V. And we can see here indeed VT-X. So it is up and running. Virtualization can work. And quite often I would do something like this, but we don't have time for that. And I don't really want to be honest with you, in this case. And if we did a full upgrade, we'd want to reboot. But once we've checked everything and made sure that we can do virtualization, then we can go ahead and install KVM. Now, KVM is a type 1 hypervisor, very powerful, low-level hypervisor that gives full access to hardware. It's designed for Linux, but it can also run on BSD and Mac OS. But this is one of the reasons that I use Linux is KVM. It's so ultra powerful. It can run very powerful virtual machines with full-blown operating systems without using much in the way of resources. Okay, so let's install it. We'll do a sudo apt install. Now we're going to need multiple packages. The first package is QEMU -kvm. Now, there are different options for this. I'm going to do QEMU-kvm for this install. You can install other ones like QEMU-kvm-x86, but it could use more packages. I'm sorry, not x86. You could install something like QEMU-system. That will install a lot more packages for different hardware platforms. What I'm running is QEMU system-x86 as opposed to other hardware platforms. But if you just do a QEMU-kvm, it should find out what hardware platform you're running and take care of the installation for that. So that's the main KVM program. Then we also need libvirt tools. First, we need the libvirt-daemon-system, and that's going to allow libvirt to run as a service and something we can control for KVM. We also want libvirt-clients, client tools that we can use in the command line to control our virtual machines and create our virtual machines, and also virt inst. Okay, and actually this is Oh, I didn't type it right. Virt inst, Virt installation. These are the actual virtual tools. This is the client binaries that we need to work with. And then another program that I use is a GUI-based program called Virtual Machine Manager. And you can get that with Virt-Manager. And so you can do everything you want to do with tools in the command line by installing them with this, but also you could do it all with the GUI by installing this. Let's take a look. Sudo apt install qemu-kvm libvirt-daemon-system libvirt-clients virt-inst and virt-manager. Looks good. Let's go ahead and do it. All right. So this is going to install, and it's going to be 194 megabytes of additional disk space. Now, if we had done something like qemu-system, you might see upwards of a gigabyte of space needed. But that's not necessary for this particular system. This is an x86 system, so only 194. We'll say yes for this and start the install. All right, cool. We'll let that go. And let's take a look at our Debian SID system, see how it's doing. Ooh, it's done. I'm going to reboot that guy. That's my laptop running Debian SID. So we'll reboot that and connect back to that in a moment. And whoa, this is installing this really quick. KVM installation, super fast. Okay. Now, my older system, which was pretty quick, that would be, it would take a lot longer. Let's just leave it at that. All right, let's check it. Let's do a systemctl status on the libvirt D service, which is installed automatically when you do KVM. And you can see on an Ubuntu install, it automatically sets it to active and enables it. So this is running. It is working. So KVM should function at this point. We don't even need to restart, although a restart is a good idea with a huge installation like this. Now, some versions of Linux will not automatically set it to active, so keep that in mind. I'm going to press Q to exit out of there. If you did need to start it, we could do something like a systemctl /now enable libvirt-d, and that would start it and enable it at the same time. Set it to active and enable it at the same time. All right, let's do a couple other commands. First, we'll do a kvm --version, and it'll show our QEMU emulator version 8.2.2. That's not too bad. That's relatively new. Not bad. And another one is the versh command. That came from our virt-inst tools that we installed. The versh command can be used to work with our KVM system. And we'll check the version of that. Version 10. Very good. All right, so these are versions that I'm good with working on. So we're good so far. Let's do an lsmod pipe grep kvm. Okay, and now we're not seeing the oh, I'm sorry, I didn't type it right. It's got to be lowercase. There we go. We are seeing the modules. KVM Intel. If you have an AMD-based system, you would see KVM _ AMD, right? So that module is set up, looks good. Now let's do a sudo virt-host -validate and check it out. Okay. Now we have two sections here. We have QEMU, which is used for virtual machines, and then we have LXC, which is the built-in container technology within KVM. I'm not using that. I'm just going to be using virtual machines with QEMU. Everything is passed except for secure guest support, and it says unknown if this platform has secure guest support. I don't think this motherboard does, but I'm not really too concerned about it because it's all going to be for testing anyway. If I wanted to do something much more in depth for a customer, I'd probably use Proxmox, which I also run in my lab. And, maybe next session we'll do some more with that. We will be showing that tomorrow in the Linux networking fundamentals. We do have a failure for freezer, but this is actually an older command. This failure is probably negotiable, and we don't have to really worry about it. But we can add items that have failed. For example, we could change over to /etc/default and then go to our grub file. And you can see the command line for this. We could add things. We could do something like, let's say the freezer is failing. You might have to add something like group_enable equals freezer, something along those lines. And you can add IOMMU, you can add devices, freezer, things that fail, you can put those in here. I don't really need them and I don't want them because I'm not going to be working with LXC. Also, I think this failure is actually a little bit of an older message within this program. If we did any of the changes in grub, we'd have to do an update grub for Ubuntu and Debian-based systems. But that's about it. I mean, it should be running now. And so if we run virt-manager, okay, it gave a little failure. Let's connect. Okay, so it's saying verify that libvirt-d is running. I could have sworn we did that. And fish sees my history here. Oh, it does say inactive dead at this point. So that's interesting. Now, again, normally I would do a restart, but if I restart, we're going to lose our feed here. But let's do it. Let's do a double dash now. Or actually, you know what? Let's just do start on libvirt-d. And we'll do a status on it again. Okay, now it is active. So now we can run that virt-manager again. There we go. Right click, go to connect. Nope, still giving me a failure. So I'll have to check that and see what the issue is. And maybe I'll post on my Discord server, but it's probably a restart is necessary. One way or another, I'm going to get this working, and then I'm going to connect it to KVM that's running on my older system so that I can access the virtual machines from here because I need them for tomorrow, and I have a lot of golden images there. I don't have time to build all that stuff today. So, but I will make the networking connection to the other guy. And like I say, I just have a feeling that we got to restart this system to get it to work. I'll post maybe in the messages, excuse me, in the description of this live stream, and then maybe post on Discord as well what the final result was for this. All right, fantastic. So there was a lot of other stuff I wanted to do. I wanted to configure fish. I want to get Starship installed. I wanted to get working with the SSH keys. Start configuring Tilix. I like using Tilix as my terminal. Webcams are kind of funky with Linux, so that's something else. So I'm going to leave that as a running list, and all that kind of stuff that we'll be doing on this system and on my servers. We'll kind of make a nice list of that stuff, and maybe we'll continue to do this maybe every Monday. So if you liked it, we'll continue on and do more of these sessions. I think that's about it, though. I'm pretty wiped out. We've been here for an hour and 43 already. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody for coming on board today and checking out my stuff. I appreciate it. And hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at my Discord server. Feel free to leave a message with me. But that's about it. So awesome. And by the way, if you guys are interested, don't forget we have the Linux networking and security fundamentals. That is tomorrow. And I'll link to that in the group chat. And that's about it. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to sign off here. And this video should be recorded for posterity, and you'll be able to access it whenever you want. And we'll continue on the journey on a weekly basis, and I'll get this KVM up and running. So thanks, everybody. That's it. I'm out of here, and take care, everyone.